pressure control. So if I wanted to fine tune the pressure on this jet, if I wanted it to be 2300 psi, with that device I could make it 2300 psi.
Every time?
Every time.
Even messing with the RPMs?
Without messing with RPMs or anything.
Just go straight to whatever?
Yeah, we'll go straight to it every time. But that means if I back this off, loosen it, now it's not going to reach 4,000. Now it's going to reach whatever that's set at right there.
Yeah.
So this controls the maximum pressure the jet will reach.
Okay.
So if you want it to reach 4,000, you should turn it on and tighten it in. It's usually all the way in, to be honest, because that's what it's set for.
Yeah.
To reach that 4,000 psi.
Okay.
Certain nozzles let out a little bit more flow, and it won't cause it to reach all the way up to 4,000. It will reach 38 or 3,500. That's okay. That's just because that nozzle orifices are a little bit larger, so they let out a little more water, so it can't build up as much back pressure.
Okay.
So fine-tune pressure controls. Obviously, you have your reel unlocks, and there's a reel unlock for this guy, which you guys have already found because it's all the way out. You do want to leave that locked.
Where's it at?
It's on the side here, right here. That's been out this entire time. That's a hazard when you're driving down the road, because if this starts unspooling,
we were looking for that yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we were hoping you were going to show us that today.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad
you showed it to us.
Because you should definitely have that locked when you're driving down the road. If this starts unspooling, you end up with 350 feet of hose behind you, and someone runs over with their tire, it's going to try and rip that off the truck and rip this off this. So it's going to be really bad. Really bad. This whole reel pivots out. You have a latch under here.
Oh.
Yeah. You got this latch right there. And then you pop this guy down, and you can angle this all the way out to the opposite direction.
All right.
So if I needed to go this way, I can go this way.
That's awesome.
Or I can have it all.
You know how happy these guys are going to be? Making their day right now.
I was just making it work. I love the features and stuff.
Yeah, it pivots out 90 degrees out.
Oh.
Your hydrant fill point's right here. Sometimes you have to pivot this out to get that cam lock on. If this was winterized, you would have to use, that's what this is for, to fill it up. It locks onto there.
Yeah.
Because when you antifreeze it with the antifreeze system, it actually even antifreezes the fill reel. You guys don't ever have to worry about that, so I don't have to go through
Yeah, we don't really need to learn that.
Yeah.
We're not going to have that problem.
Never gonna freeze.
Even the guys that I do need to learn it, I would say call me when it gets close to that time. I'll come back out here, because there ain't no way anybody's going to remember that.
I get it. Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. So last thing is your controls. Everything right here. So first and foremost, emergency stop. You need to familiarize yourself with this button. Get used to pressing it. This, if he starts screaming, someone says, "Oh shit," or "What the fuck," or "Ah," that's what you need to press.
Okay.
This right here is a life-saving device. I can't tell you, I've done trainings before where I tried to have, with the bigger unit, I had this little skinny guy trying to stand on a 6-inch pipe with a 4,000 to 18 gallons a minute. It literally ripped the pipe out from under him and the nozzle shot out. I pressed that right away, it went shh, and we lost all pressure.
Yeah.
If I tried to do it some other way, I don't know how long it would have taken, but this shuts off everything, and it throttles the engine all the way back down. So when you start it back up, it's not going to go straight back up to 4,000, it's going to start at a low RPM.
Yeah.
But this should be your first instinct. There's one on the remote as well. This has to be within hand's reach if you're using the remote. You have to be able to press that button. When I'm using the remote, I like to put it on my belt buckle, right here. That way I can see everything, turn my water on, engine down, RPMs up or down, all those controls, and then if something happens, ta-da, shuts it down. If this isn't within reach, if you can't touch that, you shouldn't be using the remote. You need to have someone at the jet. There has to be someone who's able to shut it down at all times.
I agree.
So, that being said, if this is ever not having any power, give that a twist. That's probably what it is. Also, when you're not using this, press that down for storage. That way, if you press any of these buttons,
Nothing happens.
Nothing else.
it flashes and it shuts itself down. It won't turn on and try to connect and waste battery.
Okay.
So, we're going to put this on run. You have your water gauge here. You have an override. The override should not be used on this jet unless you absolutely have to. And when this override is on, that water valve should never be turned on.
Okay.
What the override does is there's a low water cutoff on that tank, so if it runs out of water, it's going to shut down. The override overrides that low water cutoff.
So we don't ever want that on.
You don't ever want that on. The whole reason that it has an override is if you needed to antifreeze the system and it was out of water. Because then the override would let you antifreeze it, let you start it up, have it holding antifreeze, push it through. But for you guys, just don't press it.
All right.
It's just a
Simple.
bad idea.
Simple.
Pulsation, also known as jump jet, depending on who your manufacturer is. You turn that on, the hose shakes like it's got Tourette syndrome. It's great if you have to get it out of something or you have to make it around a bend and it just won't go through that fitting.
Yeah.
If it's just hitting a 90 and it's just hitting it, sometimes that shaking shakes it around and gets it through.
Like a pulsating?
It's pulsating, yeah. It's literally shaking.
Okay.
The whole hose, you'll feel it. The whole hose is shaking
Okay.
when that's on. It's a great device to have. It's not something you should be using on a regular day-to-day basis. When you do use your pulsation, it actually closes one of the 3 valves, so you lose a third of that pressure. So how it works is that the pump's normally building pressure. It's got 3 plungers, so it's going pressure, 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 pressure as it's working. When you turn that on, it closes that center chamber. It goes pressure, no pressure, 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 no pressure, pressure, and that's what makes you shake. So you're losing that pressure, so it's not going to do as good of a job cleaning either. Then you have your throttle up, throttle down, easy peasy.
Yeah.
All makes sense. This is what turns the remote on. So if I was going to use the remote, this is all I'd press. I wouldn't touch nothing else. I would do everything from the remote. Even starting the engine, I do it from the remote.
I'll teach you.
Will that? So with the remote, when you hit water, will that turn this on?
Yeah, that's exactly right. But if this was closed, I could hit water all I want on here and it wouldn't do nothing.
Okay.
But with using the remote, all I have to do is press that and put this to the run position.
Okay.
And I do everything else from here. If I'm not using the remote, I would manually start the engine here, get it out there. I have my water valve.
As if you have another guy here.
Yeah, if I have another guy here, someone who's within range of this.
Right.
Or if my cleanout was right here, I technically could use this. I still use the remote even if it's right there.
It's convenient.
It's convenient and it's right here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's right within arm's reach at all times. So no matter where I step away, I've got it within reach. This is your electronic hose rewind. I'm sure you guys already found that. You have speed controls for that. This is a 40 amp breaker for that hose rewind.
Okay.
This is not designed to pull the hose out under pressure.
Yeah.
So if it's stuck in a line, don't be pressing that, trying to have that motor pull it out.
Yeah.
It's going to burn up that motor and it's going to pop this 40 amp breaker.
Okay.
And then you just got to reset it right there.
Okay. I shouldn't have to use it.
So
right.
What's the range on the remote?
It is 1,000 feet line of sight. So if I'm looking at this jet and I can see it in my eyes, I can walk 1,000 feet away and this will disconnect it 1,000 feet away. Now, every time you go around a corner, every time there's something in the way that's going to cut that range down. If you go near an electric panel, if I went in the house and went near their electric panel and I get within a foot of that panel, this is probably going to shut down because it's causing interference. High voltage, high electricity, strong signal outputs. If I went near a 5G cell tower and tried to halfway climb up the tower, it would probably shut down just because it's going to cause interference. So it works 95% of the time. There are some circumstances though where you're not going to be able to use it or you're going to have to be creative. That little hose reel though, if you had to in a pinch, if you're inside a house and all the way away, you could use that little mini hose reel to have the water on off right there if the remote won't connect.
Right.
So with that being said, remote. To use the remote, you just put that to that run position, press that back guy right there. We're going to undo this little e-stop and we're just going to press link. Now it says on the remote link. That lets me know it's linked up. So from this remote, I have a lot of controls. I have my engine start, engine stop, water on, water off, RPMs up, RPMs down, pulsation on, and pulsation off. So I can control all of that right from here. So pretty much besides pulling out the hose reel and winding it back up, I can do everything on this.
The machine runs itself.
Exactly. And
Gotta operate it.
It even tells you a couple things. So before you turn it on, it's going to say low water. That's going to be flashing. But once it's running, it's going to turn that on if it runs out of water and it shuts off. It's going to tell you if my water's on right here. It's got a little light. It's going to tell me if my pulsation's on. And it's going to. This is not low battery, by the way. That means the battery remote is charging.
But you can charge it?
If you get the charger. It uses 3 AA batteries. I just
Yeah.
put batteries in.
Okay.
That's all we do. That's
Yeah,
all we do.
I would just
Yeah.
put 3 AA batteries.
Okay.
They're so cheap. Why spend $200 some on a charger?
Right.
That just hooks onto it. Alkaline batteries last longer than rechargeable batteries anyway.
Okay.
So that's what that is. If it starts getting low on the battery in here, it's actually going to flash that pulse light periodically.
Okay.
So you'll see that guy kind of flash orange,
Okay.
and that'll let you know that it's running low. With that being the case, our water valve is off. We're ready to start the engine. was the last time it was started?
Yesterday. We used the remote too. It took a little bit.
Did it? Oh, there we go. When was the last time you filled it up with fuel?
Week ago.
A week ago? 2 weeks ago? Regular fuel or premium? So make sure it's not old fuel. Alright, so now that we've got this hooked up, engine started, we're sure that we're linked. You see that link button? Let's go.
Let me ask you this.